Hey guys, thank you very much for joining or for watching the recording. Today I will be talking about ETIAS because it's been talked about for quite some time. So I wanted to give you all the information which is available at the moment, so you're prepared when the change happens or when this system starts working. Because it's been already postponed a couple times, the start of operation, because it's also connected to another system, but it will happen sooner or later. It will happen, so I want to give you all the information you need to be prepared. So ETIAS, what it is? ETIAS is abbreviation for European Travel Information and Authorization System. What it means in real life, I will explain based on couple recommendations given by the EU to travelers. So I will go through some of the recommendations, or a checklist, they call it a checklist, and I will always elaborate on each of the points there. So first thing, or maybe let me first tell you what the ETIAS means. I told you the definition, but what it means in real life is that for the countries who can come to Europe without a visa for up to 90 days. So countries like the US, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, there are in total around 60 countries which have a visa-free entry and visa-free stay in the EU. So for those countries, this ETIAS system is meant, because all the other countries are already, or other nationalities are already filtered by the need of the short-term visa to even visit. So that's a different story, but this applies to those nationalities who can come here, or whose nationals can come here for up to 90 days without a visa. And what it means is basically, so I'll probably now, so what it means is that before you travel to Europe, you will need to register in a special online system and get kind of pre-approved for entry. So I will now go through the checklist and will always elaborate a bit more about each of the topics. So first on the checklist, apply for ETIAS travel authorization well in advance before you buy your ticket or book your accommodation. In theory, it should work the way that you go online, you fill in a simplish kind of form, you pay 7 euros fee, and then within a couple minutes you should get the result and ideally approval to travel. But the EU already says, the official guideline officially says, or already says, that it can take up to 4 days to get you approved in case there is some additional verification needed. It can take up to 2 weeks if you need to provide some additional documents. And it can take up to 30 days if you are invited for an interview. Of course, no one knows what the criteria will be. I hope and I expect that most of the people will pass the pre-test, and most of you will be approved or pre-approved within the minutes, and there will be no problem. But it can also happen the way that the system will be, the rules will be set up that high, let's say, or restrictive, that almost no one will get approved and everyone will be invited for an interview. I don't expect that, because it would be a lot of bureaucracy for everyone and it would slow down the travel, which is something the EU doesn't want, in my opinion. But we don't know unless it starts working, or until it starts working. So anything between minutes to 30 days. That's why they recommend you to apply for it well before you travel, because if you apply for it on the same day as you should travel and you expect the result in a couple minutes and it doesn't come, then the whole plan would be wasted. So second on the checklist, make sure your passport details correspond to those in the ETIAS authorization. You will be refused boarding and entry at the border if they do not match. In general, that's kind of connected to the next one. Make sure your ETIAS travel authorization is still valid. In theory, it should work the way that the authorization will be granted to you for up to 3 years, or until the expiration date of your current passport. So if your passport is valid for, say, 3 years and longer, then you will get the authorization for 3 years. If your passport expires soon, in a year or half a year or 1.5 years, that may be shorted, or the permission, the authorization might be shortened based on the validity of your passport. So that's one thing that's depending on the validity of the passport, you might be shortened the authorization. Another thing is that if you make any mistakes in the details and then the details do not match when you're entering, they might not let you in. And that's actually a general kind of rule there, that this will be like a pre-authorization, but the final word will have the immigration officer at the actual Schengen border. So you need to be careful already with getting the ETIAS, the authorization, to make sure that all the details are correct and you didn't make any typo or anything like that. But then you still need to be kind of denied entry when you actually travel. So we'll see how this will work. Another reason why you might not be allowed to enter is the last thing on the checklist actually. Make sure your passport is valid for 3 months after your intended departure from the European countries requiring ETIAS. You will be refused entry at the border if it's not. Exceptions apply, so we'll see. But again, if you want to travel and your passport is not valid for longer than 3 months after you plan on leaving Europe, you might be also denied entry. So you will need to be careful about many things. But the same system or similar system works, for example, for Czech citizens when we want to visit the US. So I think it will be working similarly. We'll see though when it will be actually introduced. There are two systems, EES and this ETIAS, which should be actually introduced at the same time or starting at the same time, which now, or it was supposed to be November this year, but it's been moved probably to May next year, but it can be moved again. So we'll see, but this will happen. So it's just a matter of time when it will. So hopefully this video gave you a good enough idea about the system and how it will be working. And please share your comments with me, what you think about the system, if it's a good thing or not, and what you think will happen. And we can start a discussion and then we'll see in real life. So thank you guys very much, and see you again next time, Monday, Thursday, until the end of the world. Bye bye.